Everybody, welcome back to another episode of What the Devil, I think episode 25. We're back, Yusuf's back, Kane's back, and Man United are back. Real Madrid can hold that. I cannot believe this Leny Yoro stuff. The last 24 hours, obviously, for Kane and I, have been nuts. I was literally, when they announced the Yoro thing, I was halfway through cleaning my teeth. I got a text from Nick, who was on last week, going, Yoro watched our clip about calling him, telling him to join the club. And I was halfway through cleaning my teeth, I went, what? Looked at my phone, David Ornstein notification. I had to run to my room, type for half an hour, all the news, everything coming out, Fabrizio saying this. David Ornstein saying this, Santiona saying this, Florian Plettenberg saying this, but I still had all the toothpaste in my mouth for about half an hour. But yeah, it's one of those signings where I'm really excited and happy about this. 50% because I know how good he apparently is, and 50% because just obviously everything that's come with it, the whole Madrid thing. You know, we beat Madrid to the signing. Madrid have just gone into chaos PR mode. There's been attacks from the Spanish media on United, on Lille, on everything in the last 6 hours. But yeah, it's part of me can't quite put into words quite how I feel about this.
I think it's partly because it didn't seem like it was going to happen. A lot of the reports were it's looking a little bit positive, but it's going to be Real Madrid. And then when the one journalist who comes out is David Ornstein, who is getting things right, then it does excite you. And yeah, obviously the potential there is the real exciting fact. But he's already a starting player in a really difficult league. So it's like the best of both worlds, where you've got the really exciting prospect of him getting even better, but he's still a very solid option right now.
Yeah, I was admittedly, obviously, I think I'm in the same boat as a lot of United fans, in that I actually haven't watched a lot of him play. At least prior to our signing, I've seen obviously the comps and some clips, etc. Blah, blah, blah. But when I used to be, for those who don't know, I used to be a fairly big fan of Lyon. So I watched quite a lot of League One, kind of when Memphis there, when Cherki was coming through and Alwar was 21, so 5-6 years ago. And it is an incredibly physical league for all the kind of the banter it gets for being a farmers league, whatnot. It is, on all accounts, as a lot of people have said, and what I believe as well, it's an incredibly physical league, probably the most physical compared to the Premier League out of Europe's top 5, top 10 leagues. And so there's a lot that we, as United fans, don't know about Yoro. We know he's amazing, we know Real Madrid loved him, we know that he's almost within football circles, almost universally known for being, that guy, the Mbappe of centre-backs, blah, 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 in the same circles as Kobe Mainoo, for example. But, Yusuf, I know that you do know some stuff about Yoro, so, I want some education.
Yeah, I did do a little bit of research yesterday, and I have kind of been learning a little bit over the last few weeks. I think he's got such big talent. So one French friend of mine, actually I saw him saying yesterday, this is the best centre-back we've seen come out of this country since Varane. And that's a big statement, because we all remember how highly Varane was rated at. I mean, Zinedine Zidane was phoning him at 17. So we all know how good Varane was, and he's saying this is the actual Varane regen. So I think that's a high praise. I did a little bit of watching yesterday, and I picked up a few things on him. So one of the first things I picked up about him, he's very tall, but you notice his limbs. So you know how some players, they're tall, but you don't really notice their length really. Like Marcus Rashford, for example, he's 6'2", but you never think Marcus Rashford's 6'2". Leny Yoro, you notice just how long he is because he uses his length so well when he's defending. He'll really, you almost how AWB does.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comparisons between that.
It really sticks his legs out, wraps him in to get the ball, and Yoro does a bit of that as well, although he's not as likely to kind of go to ground as Wan-Bissaka is. He'll use his arms quite well. He'll keep you away from the ball, and that's a really valuable thing. There's this one clip from when he played PSG, and Mbappe took a really deft little touch around the corner, and most defenders in that situation, Mbappe's away, he's past you. Yoro just gets himself between Mbappe and the ball, and Mbappe just can't get round him. And in that moment, I was like, right, this is a serious player. I'll start with the development points as well, though, because he's not just this perfect centre-back. As much as certain Twitter accounts are going to tell you this is the best defender we've ever seen come through, his profile, Van Dijk, or studs on the ball, all of that. He does need development, all right? So mainly it's his long passing. I think he's a very solid passer. He keeps the ball quite well. He uses his left foot decently. he's quite composed under pressure, which I like, but his long passing, I think, needs work. 'Cause those switches, even those kind of little balls in behind you see when the centre-back just kind of clips it in when, say, Højlund's running the channel, you might want someone to send a long ball in. His range passing does need a bit of work, and I mean, he's 18, it'll come with time, but he is mainly like a kind of short to mid-range passer for now. We have got Licha Martinez next to him, so that's not too big of an issue.
They seem like they complement each other quite well.
Definitely.
With their different styles.
And I think sometimes he will get beaten. Like, you know, he'll get beaten by an attacker. Someone like Ollie Watkins or Haaland might give him a tough time because, I mean, they give everybody a tough time really, but as an 18-year-old centre-back, it's not easy to come up against those kind of players who are just so aggressive, so physical, just running off you constantly. He'll have moments. And for an 18-year-old, you'd expect a young defender to be a bit more rash. He's very composed. He'll drop off a bit more, cover the spaces. He's quite good at that. He's not afraid to get physical and get into duels with you, but sometimes, you know, like I say, Haaland, Watkins might give him a bit of a run around. I mean, Watkins did give him a difficult time when Villa played Lille in the Conference League, but he's good. He's got that maturity about him, and I see a lot of room for growth in him. He's not going to be the perfect player, and I still see us going in for De Ligt as well, because I don't think we're going to just drop him in. Either that or Maguire has, again, an important role this season. I know Kane will love that. But if we get rid of Lindelof and potentially Maguire as well, I could see us bringing in Yoro and De Ligt and having Licha there as well. I could see Luke Shaw playing some games at centre-back if we don't also get Branthwaite, and I really highly doubt we're going to get 3 centre-backs, especially given Everton are demanding 75 million for Branthwaite, and their fans are, one, angry that we want Branthwaite, but then angry we're not paying as much as they want for Branthwaite. We're like, oh, we don't want you to sign him, but oh, you're terrible for not giving us this much money. But make your mind up, fellas. But yeah, I think there's a lot of room for development. He's got a lot to like about his game. He's really good in the air. That's what's going to help Licha, but also in a high line, he's good in the air. Like those long balls, he'll deal with them. He turns nicely. There is a lot to like about Leny Yoro. I think there's, you know, big time. And I do see similarities in his game to Raphael Varane.
Yeah, so that is something that obviously has been said a lot, and it's something that we've spoken about before on this podcast, is that it's not just necessarily his height or whatever or his speed that's similar to Varane, but also kind of like his play style and the fact that he's fairly two-footed. But Varane wasn't one, I believe, like as far as I remember, to spray long balls in the same way that like Lisandro Martinez does. And Yoro has seen a lot of compliments about his passing range, but he's one of the only players in Europe who can maintain a 90+ passing accuracy while also winning 70% of his duels or something like that. But I've also what I've seen is that he's quite conservative.
Yeah.
So most of his passes, he's good at using his short passes to get himself out of trouble or to get the ball to someone else, blah, blah, blah. But he's not necessarily going to be the one that will ping a ball 65 yards to Rashford running down the channel. But I don't think he needs to be.
No, I don't.
We have Lisandro Martinez. If he's very good at getting himself out of trouble and getting the ball, to Onana or to Martinez, he's able to, win the ball back, pass it to the 2 players at the back line of our team who are that good at passing, or even Luke Shaw, even though he's on Dallow's side as well.
We've got out of the back 5, I'd say 4 of those. If you're building a back 4 with Dallow, Shaw, if he's fit, and Martinez and Yoro, and then Onana behind them, 4 out of those 5 are very comfortable. And obviously Yoro, from what people say and from the stats, it seems like he's comfortable but still quite conservative. If you've got enough players to kind of hide that. It was similar with Varane, because a lot of people said that you needed someone with way better ball playing skills because Varane kept it quite simple at times.
The thing is,
but you don't need that with every player.
I wouldn't even necessarily say he's conservative, to be honest. I think that some people see he's not great at switching the ball or whatever, and they say he's conservative, but actually he's a pretty decent forward passer. I saw this with Varane a lot as well. Varane actually broke lines quite well at times. Like I don't know if you guys noticed this a lot. Quite a lot of times you'd think he's on his left foot, you'd think he's going to pass to Licha, but he actually just splits a line straight on the ground. Or sometimes I actually thought Varane carried it through pressure a bit more than Lisandro did. Lisandro was really good on the turn, but Varane was the one sometimes driving forward. I don't know if you remember against Barcelona at Old Trafford, he went on that run and got all the way to the box, and I was thinking, please score.
That kind of stuff I think comes with experience. Like, that's the kind of thing we can't expect from Yoro. Like, I don't want Yoro playing more than 35 games, for example, this season. Yeah. In the same way I don't want Kobbie Mainoo starting more than 40, 45. In the way of all of these guys are incredible players, we know obviously how fantastic Mainoo is. But we also know that Mainoo can't continue and to play games forever. For example, with England, he had 3 amazing games in the round of 16, in the quarters, in the semis, and then when it got to the final, Manny didn't have the world-class game that he had previously, but because he's playing like so many games so consistently every 3-4 days in high-pressure situations. The midfield, that's a separate point, but like just kind of like I want all the options. I want Yoro, I want Martinez, obviously we don't have Varane anymore. Maguire, let's say we bring in a 4 centre back, be that whoever, plus we sold Willy Kambala, didn't we? Oh, Johnny Evans, so that was a 5th I was thinking about. Like 5 centre backs, good. 2 of them are new signings, one of them's this bloke, the other one's a more established player, I don't know, plus then Maguire, Martinez and Johnny Evans. It's a good range, and I just hope that therefore we can protect him.
I mean, if we sign a left back, then Luke Shaw can play centre back.
I think that I was going to say that seems like it's more realistic because you could probably get you maybe get Ligt if we can get the sales to get that over the line, and then if you do get another left back, because you'd think you can probably try and find a potential backup to Luke Shaw or someone alongside Malacia for 20-30 million, potentially. And then you would have that option for Shaw to come into centre-back to provide cover. Because, I mean, when he has gone there, he's been very... Even for England, when he came on for the first game for England, was it the semi-final or the quarter-final? But he came in at centre-back and he made like 2 really good challenges at the back.
Yeah, definitely.
So... yeah, that's definitely an option next season.
By the way, his performances he was so good, by the way.
Sure.
In the final.
In the final, that first half when Yamal was on the touchline, Shaw just locked him up in a way no other fullback did the entire tournament.
Yeah, well, Shaw is just technically brilliant, and he's got such a good floor. Which is why it irritates me so much when he doesn't play for long periods. Like Malacia is back in training, and also this is something I want to point out just while Malacia. Is I find the wording of what United have been saying very interesting. It's because they've changed their wording from rehabilitation program to fitness program. Yeah. It seems. I don't know if that's just like a thing they've said or if it's very specific. But if it is specific, it sounds like he's not in rehab anymore. He's just getting fit.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be back for the beginning of the season. So if we have Shaw on holiday after rebuilding all his fitness with England, and then Malacia coming back as well, as you said previously, Kane, Shaw tends to stay fit when someone else behind him is also fit. So if Malacia is back fit again, and he will be very careful, I think, about making sure he stays fit, Malacia, then hopefully that will mean that Shaw will again stay fit.
You've also got Harry Amos. I know he didn't...
and Amos.
He didn't have I didn't think he was brilliant in that first game, but I don't think there was only a handful of players who really played that well. It was mainly about getting back to fitness, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
But he is a very exciting prospect, and he could be that extra option at left back to allow Shaw to potentially play behind, because that is the one worry. I think Everton fans have been a bit weird over Branthwaite, but he still is probably in an ideal world, he is the best option as a rotation with Martinez on that left side. But having Shaw, I don't think is too much of a downgrade there. Realistically, Shaw was, when he actually played there 2 seasons back, it's weird calling that 2 seasons back now, but he was really good. So
I think also with all the Branthwaite hype, some of our fans have forgotten how good Lisandro Martinez is as a centre-back.
Well, I think him just playing the Copa America made people remember, oh wait, he's bloody good.
Even just the FA Cup final.
I feel like with Martinez now, we don't have to say how good he is anymore, because in the same way we don't have to constantly go, Bruno Fernandes is an amazing midfielder, because at this point we know he is, in the same way like Lisandro has beyond proved himself. As you know, even though for Argentina and realistically over the course of last season, even though he only played 14 games, he's been able to prove himself over the last 2 years, plus with what he's doing at Ajax, that he is a quality centre back. So I feel like it's not something that needs to be mentioned anymore.
It's weird though. A lot of players get better ratings when they're injured because people go, oh, we're missing them, and even though we were missing Martinez, it seemed that his ratings got lower.
Everyone was like, oh no, he can't physically handle it.
We know how good he is. Eric Ten Hag knows how good he is and everything. And someone else who's been so good for United in the time that they've joined is Dan Ashworth. I just really want to give a quick applause, just massive props to this team so far. This the Ineos Avengers, whatever we're calling them, for what they've done. Because especially this Euro deal is insane. Because what I was reading in the day, I think it was it might have been today, in that United hit piece from Marsa talking about the Euro deal, claiming that Lille were like threatening that Euro wouldn't be able to play, blah, 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 which we all know is terrible. But what they did say is they specifically mentioned Barada in the meetings. So obviously you take that article with a pinch of salt because it was incredibly kind of like, there was a reason for that article and it wasn't a good reason. But it said that it was Omar Barada who was the one selling the project. Obviously I'm sure they all were, but he was the one selling the project to Euro. And think about, imagine Richard Arnold trying to sell a project to a player versus what Omar Barada's done, is able to sell Manchester United's project, which has just been, just got started, all of that, versus Real Madrid's "we are Real Madrid" kind of thing. I just wanted to say massive props to them, and specifically, I love how immediately involved Omar Barada has become.
That's what I was going to say. There's loads of little things which maybe outsiders from other clubs who might have better structures than what United have had in recent years would just dismiss them because they're like, what does Omar Barada going on the tour with the squad mean? But little things like that, I'm like, I really like that because he's involved. Like, Woodward might have, but you can't imagine Woodward being close with those in the squad, the manager. Barada's kind of came in and immediately gone with the squad.
The Glazers barely ever even visited Old Trafford, but I saw Jean-Claude Blanc and Dave Brailsford at Wigan away.
Exactly, yeah. It's like Ratcliffe's done more interviews about United in 6 months than the Glazers did over 15 plus years. And one of the main thing that I've liked about this Euro deal is that we were prepared for it to fail. Yeah. So it's come through, everything's amazing, fingers crossed it gets over the line now, but it's got over the line. But if that didn't happen, we were never going to we would have never got the no at the end of August and gone, oh God, what centre-back are we going to get? Yeah. We had the exact plan. If it probably went on another 1 or 2 weeks, we probably would have pulled out and gone for De Ligt immediately. Yeah. And that's just something, even 2 years ago with Frankie de Jong, that's the main comparison, because you're chasing this superstar player all summer, and then when they say no, you haven't got a backup plan. And we had we essentially have got the De Ligt deal almost done. It just needs to be the fine margins and get it. And now that Euro's happened, getting the actual money. Yeah. But before Euro, we had the money in place. I feel like United were just thinking this is too good of an opportunity to pass up on. But that kind of planning is pretty simple. And other clubs will go. Other people might go, oh wow, you had a backup. But we didn't have that before.
It's these things like we're raving about these people. Like we're applauding them for doing their jobs. But it's nice to see everyone actually doing their job.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, like for years people laughed at us because we weren't being run properly. Now, of course, we're going to be happy that we were run properly. Like we're not claiming they're doing revolutionary things. We're just genuinely happy to see that people actually care about the club and are doing their job.
Yeah. And so on the topic of backups, talking about all that, De Ligt is one backup, but it feels like Branthwaite was at least the initial first choice. And although, in an ideal world, we sign, 3-4 new centre-backs this summer because that's what we need. It looks like we're only going to sign 2 because we've got our striker now. We've got at least 1 centre-back through, which are 2 of the massive positions. Next one is definitely midfield and then potentially left-back. But also a second centre-back seems to be at least semi-high on the agenda. And the 3 we've been linked to are Yoro, who's, he's our star boy now. Fingers, there's wood. Almost. He's going to sign the contract this afternoon. And then it's Branthwaite and De Ligt. So Branthwaite, there's been the whole Everton thing, like you mentioned before, Yusuf. Everton fans are furious that we haven't signed him. After being furious that we were trying to sign him. And then furious that we didn't bid 75 million for him. And went and signed a potentially even higher ceiling centre-back for less money. Like, make your mind up. And then also the other one is De Ligt, where it seems like we're within 5 million in the valuation. See, we know years ago what 5 million means with the Toby Alderweireld stuff years ago. But it seems, De Ligt wants to come. We've agreed seemingly contracts with both of these players. But I just want to put forward the question of who should we sign out of the 2 of them? Because my opinion is definitely De Ligt. I don't want to put Jared Branthwaite down. I know that he's his physicality and as an athlete, he's crazy build, crazy player. Really good at Everton, was very good in the Eredivisie, and he's only going to improve. But Yoro's 18, Branthwaite's 21, De Ligt's 24. And I feel like losing Varane and replacing him with Yoro, yes, you have someone who can become as good or even better than Varane over the course of 3-4 years, but Yoro doesn't have the experience that Varane had and how much he meant. And Ligt has a personality that you don't see in football unless it's one of the really kind of elite top level experienced players. I really think that's someone that we need. Like, even if Ligt, there are some injury problems, blah, 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 but if he's one of 5 centre-backs playing, and then we have Ligt in there as one of those people who are commanding, they're serious, and they want to get things done, and they want to make sure the players are in the right positions, and all this and all that. I just feel like that's the person we need to go for right now over Branthwaite.
I don't know if that Licht's also injury-prone, that's the first point, and I think he's had a few big injuries, but that's not necessarily the same as being injury-prone, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I think the personality, character and experience point is important because, look at how important Rafa Varane was for us. Like, just not even how good a footballer he was, just his character and his experience, his leadership. That's a huge gap in the squad, and I think Ligt is one of the only players we can sign who really fills that gap. Like, he's a different kind of leader, like I said the other week on our online version of the pod, but he fills that character gap, and I think we do definitely need that. And also, what was I going to say?
One thing I was thinking is I kind of agree with the points you've said, but one of our biggest problems last season was that when Martinez wasn't there, like, you could put a good defender in, and Ligt is certainly a good defender, but especially like Ten Hag put a lot of times, he really values that left-footed defender, progressiveness, and I know Branthwaite hasn't got like amazing progressive stats at Everton, but that's club kind of situation.
Yeah,
Everton
in context of who he's playing for. Yeah.
Like, he looks like he's got all the like kind of tendencies and abilities to play that left-sided role really well.
Quality.
And like, no, I don't think anyone's saying that he's a poor player. Everyone knows that he's a really promising player, but that is the one thing that I would just be a little bit worried about. Although I do think overall, mainly because of budget as well, because you're getting Ligt for 25-ish million less, and then that's essentially, that could be your backup left back sorted essentially.
Or it could go towards
go towards the midfielder, which I'd say is a more pressing position than a second centre back. But yeah, I think either of them are good signings, but I would just be a little bit worried if Lisandro does get injured, that you don't really have that progressive. Well, we all know what Martinez brings to the table when he's fit. Like, his passing, his press resistance when people are running at him, he's just so good at that side of the game.
He's a winger, doesn't he? It's weird. Yeah.
So good at that side of the game. So that's the only concern I have with that. But I also agree that you can't have Leny Yoro, despite his talent, starting the entire season.
Yeah, we can't do that. We were so lucky with Manu.
Yeah.
We were so lucky with that we got an 18-year-old, and obviously now 19-year-old.
Well, he was probably...
who came in and managed to do that, because no one should do that.
Everyone looks back at that injury in pre-season. That was might have been a good thing, because imagine if he played from August to that Euro final, because he would have probably started consistently across the season. So yeah, maybe that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because he got a little bit of time not playing for a couple months.
Well, I was going to say as well, Ligt. I'll tell you which former United defender he reminds me of, Vidic. That's the comparison I'd make to a former.
Comparison.
That's the comparison I make. Like, stylistically, he's got that like really aggressive, brave leadership style. He'll die for defending, and I love that in players. Like, sometimes they'll get beaten, but okay, who doesn't get beaten? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It happens,
the problem is the system. You need to make the system, and this is one thing we need to be careful about, especially with Euro, because there's going to be really high expectations. If our midfield issues are still anywhere near as bad as they were last season, then Euro is going to look like a crap defender, because that's, you look at some of the best defenders in the world, and like you look at Man City and Arsenal, their defenders are very protected, because they're always on the ball, so they've not got the other teams running at them for 25 shots a game, but also that they've got really strong midfields. They've obviously, both of them have got like centre-backs playing full-back, which is just horrendous in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I hate it.
they've got ways to make these centre backs and their defenders a lot more protected. And if we don't do that for Euro and for Martinez, I mean Martinez has kind of handled it throughout his United career so far, although he did miss most of the last season where we were quite poor at it. But if United don't improve that, then people are just going to think that the new signing's poor.
Yeah.
When that's not the case, he's just not being protected.
I think there's two things. So I think in part last season was actually because the defence weren't starting high enough up the pitch, so it made the gap bigger.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think Yoro and De Ligt both will help with. They're comfortable starting that 10 yards higher. Like Maguire, for example, everyone talks about how he steps out, and he does do that well, but he actually starts a little bit deeper.
Deep.
Yeah, so if you start higher that's one thing Varane had over him. He didn't step out as much, but he was comfortable starting higher at the pitch. Yoro De Ligt comfortable starting higher at the pitch and squeezing it. That'll be one difference, but we did need that guy who just eats up space in the middle next to whether it's Mainu or Mount. To be fair, Mount covers space very well, but he still needs that DM there. This one thing why Amadou Onana would have been so helpful for us, because he covers that ground
Yeah, you need like
so
a
well.
Kante type.
Yeah.
He just spawns in.
I mean, it would be absolutely lovely if Casemiro somehow just regained his
He's
physicality.
32, bro.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's unlikely.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice, but probably won't happen. I mean,
Yeah,
almost definitely won't happen.
I was
but-
reading, our good friend HTO MUFC, H from the Overlap. I was reading his threads on about Yoro, and one big point he made was he basically said one of Yoro's let's say not drawbacks, but like things he needs to improve at the moment is he's not as good when he's deeper compared to when he's in a high line. But he made the point that that's most defenders, at least in the modern day. He said, what United are paying for, 52 mil, you're paying for someone who pretty much has all the attributes about what anyone would want as a big defender. Sorry, a big defender, like a good defender in this day and age of football. But he said if United do the thing again like we did last season, where we're playing like within 30 yards of Onana, our back line's in front of him. And we don't need it because Onana's very good outside his box, very good inside the box, obviously with the ball, all that. But if we do that, Yoro won't fare as well. Yeah. But then no one would. So it's kind of like any like, let's say Yoro was to get some stick. Obviously, it would be aimed at Yoro because rival fans want Yoro to be like a cataclysmic failure from minute one. He's not even signed yet, man. He's not finished his medical. But it's one of those things that like I really hope United fans, at least United fans understand, is that if there are points where that kind of happens, that not necessarily on Yoro, but hopefully it just doesn't happen. Because if we have Lissandro Martinez back, who's fine playing further forwards, Yoro is fine playing further forwards, the two fullbacks who are both fine slotting both in midfield, slotting into defence, and just generally play try and play front foot football, we should be absolutely fine. Yeah. But it's the one concern I have.
It's quite interesting though with De Ligt, because De Ligt's quite a strong box defender, so that might be a dynamic that works in maybe certain games where you go, okay, United might not be able to play this high line, they might need to adapt. If that is the case, then if you do sign De Ligt, that could be a change for those certain types of games.
Even like Arsenal at the Etihad, for example, they dropped into their box and they were smart, and that's part of why they got a draw, in that they just frustrated City. Like, you do need to have those games, but De Ligt's really comfortable starting high, defending high. Most of his career's come in a high line, so I think partly having centre-backs who are comfortable playing in a high line, starting high up the pitch, squeezing the space, is going to make quite a big difference to the system. Because I still don't believe it was intentional. I mean, I saw a few tactical cam reviews. Ten Hag got so pissed off at players, by the way. He was...
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
He was not... Whenever the players dropped... Like, there was that Liverpool clip, you just saw him absolutely losing his rag. I mean, even Palace, a few minutes before their first goal in that 4-0 game, on the normal broadcast, you could see him like going... He's telling the defender step forward, but then a minute later you see Elise does Casemiro, and then Johnny Evans is all the way back here, and Ten Hag's just like,
"What are you doing?
Why are you so deep? Like, I've just told you, step forward."
Hopefully, this is what the new coaches can really kind of bring in. Yeah. New idea. Obviously, everyone knows Ferguson, Sir Alex done it quite a few times where he'd freshen things up, bring in new assistants.
You kind of. The reason players drop back is due to, I think, partly at least due to confidence. Yeah. In the way, like, if you're not confident that you can hold that line, you're going to drop back. Yeah. Because you're going to go, because you're going, okay, I'm stood here, but that's the thing I'm defending, that goal over there. The closer I get to that goal, the more I in theory, feel like I can defend it. But obviously, then if you do that, there's space in the midfield, Casemiro can't cover it, all that kind of stuff. But so I feel like the coaches, another thing they need to install in the players is just a level of confidence in their own abilities. If we're conceding 25 shots a game, conceding over 80 goals in a season, that's not going to do well for the players' confidence, regardless of how much it was his fault or not. But Yoro seems, he's had 2 seasons in League One basically. One as a kind of coming on to play game, second one as a starter for most of the season. Sandro Martinez just oozes confidence, all that kind of stuff. Harry Maguire, he backs himself, which is good. And if we're just playing better football, we'll be able to give those players, like the coaches, give those players that confidence to know how good they are. We'll play a higher line, we'll be more confident in doing so, and we'll just become a much better team. And I think we'll see us concede so many fewer goals.
The mindset's the point. I think that's one of the reasons why the City win, the cup final win, helped a lot. Because I think that will boost the players' confidence. In fact, that's one of the reasons. And I know we all say he does just need to stop going on about it. Arsenal, even the Athletic in their reveal all right after season end to confirm this, that Arsenal game was about generating the buy-in for his style of play. That was about building that confidence. And that's why he mentions that Garnacho offside goal and that game so much. Because to him, if we won that game, different season, because players would have been like, right, we're bought in now. We've beaten a big team, playing this football, playing this system. We can do it. That's what, now, he does still just need to not mention it so much, but that is actually why that game mattered him, and that's why the City game matters, because he's now generated a bit of buy-in. And so I think going into the season, we will better. I mean, I don't really care that we lost to a Norwegian team in our first pre-season game. With
no one cares.
No.
Fabrizio Romano does.
He does as well.
Fabrizio Romano posted like 5 quotes from that game.
It's a disgrace. I can't believe half of the under-18s lost to a team also midway through their season. So
they're
they're
peak
completely
fitness.
Fit.
It's like the results secondary, man. We all know that.
One very good mutual of mine, a fellow football coach, he just mentioned like pre-season's all about building fitness. Norway, the Norwegian league, they're in the middle of their seasons. They're up to speed and everything. It's our first game of pre-season. It's mostly academy kids. It's just a gap in fitness more than anything.
Yeah.
Like if we were up to match fitness, we'd have steamed them.
No one cares we lost 1-0. Like,
Also,
it was
do
one of the most
really
drab and
doesn't
boring
matter.
games
Do
I've
you
watched.
remember when we...
I didn't even watch the game.
I think, was it Ten Hag's first pre-season when we won like every game and we won against Liverpool to win the pre-season cup?
Yeah.
And it was Sancho, Martial and Rashford, wasn't it? And it was, oh my God, this pre-season, and then we lost the first game of the season 4-0. Or whatever, it was the second game of the season.
Yeah, we lost first game 2-1 against Brighton,
Pre-season,
4-0 against Brentford.
That Brighton game annoyed me so much because we really should have won that game.
Yeah, but I'm going to propose a question to you now, boys, about sales. So everyone's talking about Scott McTominay, being like, oh, you know what, Fulham are bidding for him, Galatasaray want him, Southampton want him, blah, blah, blah. But last night it was also said that West Ham are looking to sign Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka keen on the move. And I have an interesting question to pose. Has Wan-Bissaka, when you consider everything, actually been one of United's most successful transfers in the last 10 years?
10 years?
Because it got, let's say like 5, 10 years. Like, let's say even the question, was Wan-Bissaka a successful transfer? Because it causes a lot of discourse, Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
He's one of the more limited players in our team. You know, he can only do what he can do. There's been not much, maybe too much improvement with what he's been able to do from minute 1 to now. But at the same time, he's always been so good and so reliable at clamping down a player. I've never felt safer about a left winger when Wan-Bissaka is playing right back, or at any point in his career at United.
I think he's been consistent because everyone knows his strengths and his weaknesses, and unfortunately, I don't think he's really massively improved on weaknesses since he joined. But I think he's been very consistent and not many players have been. So I think that's a good thing for him. I think the thing which I've always thought of Wan-Bissaka is that his play in the final third is better than a lot of people kind of give credit for, because the general argument is Wan-Bissaka's good at the back, bad going forward. But I think it's actually kind of that middle zone where he's needed to improve. It's where he's receiving the ball kind of in that middle third, trying to progress. Both boxes almost, or both thirds, he's actually quite a solid player. It's just that middle bit, which is where probably Dalot is best. So I think he's been a decent signing, but you do look at the fee. And
45 mil.
Was
It wasn't
50?
45 plus 5.
50, yeah.
I don't know if the plus 5 was ever triggered. I don't know what it was.
But you imagine it probably has. But yeah, I don't think he's never been like a big problem in United's team. I don't think he's ever been like, oh, this is the problem that we need to address immediately. But you also do kind of look at that player. Well, before Dalot came through and probably arguably made his place in the team under Ten Hag, you were probably going, United need a right back.
Well, he was a mainstay. So I'm playing devil's
Under
advocate
Ole,
slightly,
yeah.
but he was a mainstay under Ole, and that Ole team is probably up to now in terms of actual performance the best team we've seen. Like that, or maybe the Mourinho 2016, 17, whatever team it was. The one that won the multiple trophies.
I'd still say 22-23 is up there, to be honest. I'd still say it's up there.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was better than people kind of give.
I think the
last
third in the league and
the
everything,
last few months we tailed off with like injuries and stuff, but I think up until that point we actually weren't that bad.
But in the same way as well, Wan-Bissaka during Ten Hag's first 6 months, I think, was originally the better. Well, at least there was a period.
Dalot got injured.
There's a period,
Cup.
and then in the Carabao Cup final, realistically, Dalot was the one that was shaking, and Wan-Bissaka was the one that came on and completely locked up St Maximin.
Yeah, but like you said,
and Matoma in the FA Cup semi-final.
For those kind of wingers, he is absolutely perfect, and I think everyone knows that. It's like I said, it's kind of just his strengths and weaknesses are so clear that you know what he's going to do in certain games. Like if he's coming up against a St Maximin, you know he's going to lock him down because it's just those wingers are perfect for him. It's kind of just those other moments maybe when, the kind of ones which Dalot excels in, kind of on the half turn, playing against teams.
I am playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But is a player who knows his strengths so well and also knows his weaknesses
it's valuable,
so
100%.
well. It's valuable for a player to know their weaknesses and just never play to them. Like Wan-Bissaka, you never really saw him. We saw him catching himself in situations where he would have to rely on weaknesses he has too much. Like not that I can remember. So this is why I'm arguing that overall, I think Wan-Bissaka has been one of our most successful signings in the context of everything the club's been through, because I've never really felt there's been a point where he's actually been a massive hindrance to the point where I actively want him out of the team.
Yeah.
I think, as opposed to other players, for example, like when Maguire was playing really poorly, when Anthony was starting and playing really poorly.
Since Anthony joined the club.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of semi my argument.
I think
semi just the point.
I don't know about most successful. I think I don't think he was a raging success, but he definitely wasn't a failure. I think he was one of those things where he kind of just did the job, almost. I would also say he actually improved a bit more than people realise. I think in the final third, at first, he just had no idea what he was doing, which is understandable because he wasn't there much for Palace. But especially when he came back into the team after that Dalot injury, after the World Cup, he actually, he was better in the final third. Those little give and goes and stuff, those overlaps. He kind of, he had a better idea of what he was doing. He's always been quite a good, even if awkward to watch, dribbler. His positioning improved a little bit, but there is, like I said, there's stuff, there's weaknesses, kind of the first 2/3, he's not the best on the ball, he's not got the most secure touch, he's not the, most crisp passer of the ball. It is, like I said, it's just clear what his strengths and weaknesses are. I think we all know the kind of player he is, and if he does go, I wish him the best because he's had a lot of very good games for us. He has, been a solid player, all things considered. Anyone who says otherwise, it is just a bit of an agenda. I
think as well, one thing which is just nice is that he's just been no troubles off the pitch whatsoever. He's been off whether Dalot took his position essentially when Ten Hag came in, you don't hear anything like that. He just stays working behind the scenes and then comes back into the team and performs. Which if he were to stay as a squad player, I know that I've previously mentioned that ideally you probably want two players who are quite similar in those roles. But as a squad player, what more can you ask than someone he's reliable, you know what he's good at, you know what he's bad at. He can come in and you know that he's probably going to perform exactly how you expect him to perform. So I think for that, the main thing is United need money. United need money to get these deals over the line. So if West Ham are coming in with a respectable bid.
It seems the number was around 17 to 20 plus potentially add-ons.
Yeah, which I think, I mean, United have got to get that balance. I was speaking to my brother about this yesterday, and I was like, you've got to find a balance where you don't get mugged off for the transfer fee, but you also don't just like completely hold out for an unrealistic one and then not get anything.
Everton.
And then not get anything overall, because United could easily say like, we want 30 million for Wan-Bissaka. I mean, no one's going to offer that. It's the same as, I feel like they need to be a little bit more thing with Scott McTominay, have a similar approach with Scott McTominay.
It's what they did with Greenwood. Like, they said 40, but they accepted 23 plus 50% sell-on clause.
Yeah.
Which, so you'll probably get 40 at some point. But yeah, I think, so you say it's about being realistic. The one thing I think that with selling Wan-Bissaka is, does it not cause the need to buy another player? Because what we're just rocking with Dalot at right back.
No, I think you would need.
Is this the one thing? So you could sell Wan-Bissaka for 17 to 20 million. To get 17 to 20 million, you go, okay, great, we can put that into the Ligt money, and then therefore we're paying 20% out of our original 20 million for the Ligt. But then you then have one right back, and you go, okay, we need to sign another right back, because as far as I'm concerned, there's not like a ready to go cooking right back in the academy. There is a left back in Amas, to some extent, but does it not kind of just solve another problem and then create another one, selling Wan-Bissaka?
Yeah, I mean, Habib Bourganaya in the academy is pretty good, but I don't know if he's like, is he ready to be the de facto backup?
Can he play 15 games, start 15 games a season, because Dalot can't start 60? Like,
exactly.
To me, it feels like you are creating a admittedly more minor issue. Like, because you do need the funds, it's maybe a trade-off that, as long as Dalot stays fit, could work. I don't know if you can play someone a right, but I don't know if you can't play like Johnny Evans a right back.
You basically get the funds, but you kind of almost need to use them again.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's what I mean. Unless we're going to go buy left back from Norway for 2.7 million.
Yeah, get one of Ashworth's kind of completely random signings.
Or just like some championship signing or something.
But
I don't know. It feels like that's one position that we can't really afford to sell as much as we can afford to sell in other positions like midfield.
Is Wan-Bissaka's deal up at the end of next season? I think it might be.
I think they triggered an extension though.
No, but as in, I think it was going to run.
It was going to be this season.
Right.
Okay. Next season. Let me double check that.
But if that, I think that is the case. But if it is, then that might be in their thoughts that, okay, you might sell Wan-Bissaka for 20 and buy someone for maybe 25 or so.
Yeah.
But that might be a better solution than having Wan-Bissaka for the rest of the year, letting him leave on a free, and then you've got to fork out that 25 million anyway next summer. So maybe they've got someone on there. I mean, there's been the links to Frimpong, hasn't there? But I mean, that seems like more of a right wing signing than a right
wing signing.
Just don't sign it.
That's also a contextually high profile signing because he's just won the league and he's just been playing for the Netherlands. Like that's not a signing where you can go, we'll give you 7 mil. Kind of like if we want to sell Wan-Bissaka, sign a right back and maintain significant funds from him, we can't spend over 5 million. So we can't then sign a player
just don't want to sign Frimpong.
That's a whole other conversation. But I meant more in the way of anyone who is in the Frimpong-esque name in the media.
Yeah.
Like he was like one of the best performing right backs or right wing backs in the last year, and he was playing in the
Obviously,
Euros.
you can look at I mean, I'm not a financial expert or whatever, but obviously sales can go straight onto the book, whereas like we're planning to do for Ligt, or like we done for Xerxes, you can spread that.
Them over
so maybe there's like
there'll be some clever accounting. I mean, Eustace more first talk about accounting than the two of us. Economics degree over here, but I just think United sales just overall, I feel like selling Wan-Bissaka it creates another thing that we have to deal with this summer.
Maybe, but I think as a whole, though, I think sales, we're doing okay. What are we thinking? Are we doing okay with sales at the moment? I mean, Greenwood, right.
Camboala 10 mil, Greenwood 23 mil, Alvaro Fernandez was about 5-6 million. So we got Sancho. It seems like we're probably not going to sell unless a
few free contracts as well.
And then we've got rid of the wages and stuff. They will let's say at least one of Scott McTominay and Casemiro will go. Lindelof seems like he's definitely off on his way. So that's about 70 million there, no?
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
the Casemiro stuff is a bit worrying. I don't see the exit right now, and I feel like if you are getting if you're going to buy a midfielder, it just doesn't make sense to keep Casemiro as a. I don't think it makes complete sense to keep him as a backup. So that's one which I'm a little bit concerned about. But apart from that, I think we're doing okay.
I think we're doing, comparatively to before, I think we're doing very well.
And we're still early in the window. I still remember before the window was open and people were going, Ineos need to make movements, we're not seeing any signings. The window wasn't even open.
Yeah.
And we
didn't open until the 1st of July.
Literally just before I came on this pod, on the way here, I was having this conversation with my mate, and he was saying that fans should suddenly tend to sit back and observe it. Sometimes I was like,
yeah.
I saw on the second day of the window seeing people saying, why have we not got any deals done? I'm like, mate, just...
Yeah, it'll
And we've got two, and especially because it's an international tournament summer where everyone knows it's harder to get deals done. Like, Xerxes would have been done earlier, but he was at the Euros with the Netherlands. So
Ligt was at the Euros.
Yeah, like. So those kind of conversations are funny, but we're not even on our pre-season tour yet, and it seems like we've got a lot of work, a lot of business.
No, yeah,
done.
we're acting fast, which is nice. Also, like when we sell players, it's like sometimes it just seems we do it too late.
I think rule of thumb is like if you've got 2 signings in before pre-season, that's good going.
Yeah,
very good going.
And it's like we'll probably get 3, I think.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. So I was thinking before the start of the season.
Before America, yeah.
Well, before America, I don't think we'll see another signing before the US tour.
When do we fly?
Next week.
Oh right, yeah.
So like we play on Saturday, which I think my theory is we'll announce Yoro on Saturday, because I reckon it'll be all the media whatever done today. He will sign the contract today. Friday they'll spend the whole day making, because I think there's going to be like the Xerxes stuff was fun. It was welcome to thing. Blah, blah, blah. It was like
they might do it a little bit more.
But I think there'll be a bit more.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then I can see him announcing it on Saturday morning to drive people to the website, and the website will then have a watch the Rangers game here. And then it'll be, that's how I think they'll play the game.
Do you know one thing I was thinking earlier to myself? I was thinking about Varane joining, and I think I was watching one of those TikTok videos, and it was like comparing Varane joining and Euro coming. And one thing, early signings, the only negative is that United can't do the announcement where they walk onto the pitch like they did for Varane and Casemiro, because I just think that's the best. Everyone's been talking about the Mbappe thing, and why don't more clubs do that where they do the whole stadium goes for a presentation? I think it's much better to do it the way that United done it.
Yeah, I think the way United did it, the Varane one's my favourite one because it was on my birthday.
It was
August 14th, 2021, so it was my 21st birthday. And was it 2021? 21st birthday.
It was the first
smash Leeds 5-1. Varane came out.
First full came back after COVID, and also no one kind of knew about it until
just before kickoff.
I think it is great, but I think it should be kept for Casemiro when we signed him for Ram. Like when we did it for Højlund, it was cool. But
it wasn't quite.
It's not Varane walking out in a suit.
What game did we do it for Højlund?
I can't remember.
It was a pre-season game.
It was.
The thing is, Varane and Casemiro had it for Leeds and Liverpool, which are both big games. But
I think ultimately it'll be good for United to say, big stuff. We got Yoro boys. This is sick. This is cool. And then leave it at that. Bed him into the team. Don't throw him in anything. I just think that's what will be best for him. But I mean, we'll see in the next few weeks. He'll be in a United shirt playing in the next 2 weeks,
which is exciting.
Touch wood. But. As always, thank you very much for coming on, Kane. Thank you very much for coming on, Yusuf. For those of you who made it to the end, thank you very much for watching. Remember, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, let us know your thoughts on what we said. Make sure to leave a like, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.